So what are we going to create now? We're going to create new groups. And while you're creating the groups, there are two types of creation, a single group or a unit of groups. What does that mean? In very simple terms, I have a class with 100 students. I want to create in the chat, if there's any question here, I want to create either one group or a unit of groups. So I have 100 students. And those 100 students create a group of 5. To create 10 groups of 10, totaling 100, use a unit of groups to distribute students. The first principle is using a unit of groups. The second principle is creating different types of groups. And each group has 10 students. You wouldn't just say, I'm going to create one group and then group 3. You would repeat manually, creating group 1, group 2, group 3 until you reach group 10. When you're creating many groups, distribute students into groups dealing with unit of groups. So that's the first principle. The second principle is that groups are different types. There's self-registration, single or unit groups. There's manual registration, available in both. There's random, only in unit groups. So the self-registration. All right, to distribute the students you have into groups, you need to deal with something called a unit of groups. So that's the first principle we're going to work on. Now, the second principle is that the groups I create are of different types. The creation of groups itself consists of different types. There's something called self-registration, which you can see here in both types, whether it's a single group or a unit of groups. Then there's manual registration, which is also available in both types. And there's something called random, which is only available in one type, which is the unit of groups. So, what about self-registration? What is its function, or what is its meaning and its hand, and what is its inherent meaning? Whether it remains in the group unit or in the unit of groups, what does its inherent meaning also mean? That is, you create a group by naming it, for example, group 1, group 2, or group 3, for example. Here, you give the student the ability to register himself and choose the group he wants to be added to himself. So, as a teacher, all you have to do is specify the title of the groups and say that there are 5 groups. All right, kids, whoever wants to join a group can do so, and whoever wants to choose can choose. The student will see the 5 groups or the 10 groups, and they will add themselves to the group. This is self-registration. Personally, I don't prefer self-registration. Why? Because every time students often move between groups. If they dislike a group, they switch. This can be chaotic. Self-registration means students choose their groups. Manual registration means you assign students to groups. Random registration is in between. The system assigns groups. So we have 3 options: student choice, teacher assignment, or system assignment. In random registration, the system randomly assigns students to groups without teacher input. You will add this student yourself to this group, and this student is in this group, and that student is in that group. This is called manual registration. Now, random registration is in between the two. It's neither self-registration, where the student chooses their own group, nor manual registration, where you, as the teacher, decide. No, in random registration, the system decides. So the one who decides is either the student, the teacher, or the system. That's why it's called random registration. The system randomly takes these 5 students, or those 10 students, and puts them in this group without me even knowing who they are, even as the teacher. But after the system finishes, I go into each group and see who the system has placed in this group and who is in that group. This is just the theoretical idea at the beginning. I hope this part is clear. Now we're going to create one group through manual registration, and we'll create a unit of groups through random registration so that things are clear for you. We're going to create one group now through manual registration so you can see it. I'll come here and say manual registration. But after the system finishes, I go into each group and see who the system has placed in this group and who is in that group. This is just the theoretical idea at the beginning. I hope this part is clear. Now we're going to create one group through manual registration. Now, we're going to create a unit of groups through random registration so that things are clear for you. We're going to create one group now through manual registration so you can see how it works. I'll come here and say Manual registration. Manual registration. Okay, even for this question, doctor, I will answer it here, now God willing. So right now, I'm going to name a unit here. When you create a group, for example, you might say it's group Aklif, for example. You need to specify group number 1 or assignment number 1, and you should put a description for the group, and you must make sure that the group is visible to the students so they can get to know each other. So here, it's set to yes. Now we will remove all these permissions because they don't have any value for us right now. They are unnecessary to avoid any issues. And here, you will notice that we have set the name for the group, and you will have something called membership. Specify group number 1 or assignment number 1. Add a group description. Ensure group visibility to students. Set to yes. Remove unnecessary permissions to avoid issues. Notice the group name and membership. We agreed on manual registration. Manually add users. See all class students. Add students 7, 8, and 6 to one group. We will remove these permissions as they are unnecessary now. Notice the group name and membership. For membership, we agreed on manual registration. Manually add users by selecting students like student 7, 8, and 6. Then click Submit. To remove them, click Remove all users and re-add as needed. Membership. Membership. We just agreed now. We are doing manual registration. What will you add with your hand? You will say, Add users. All the students who are with you in the section will appear in front of you. You choose. I have student 7, student 8, and student 6. I will add these 3 in one group. Alright, so you select them and then click the Submit button. And now you have all 3 added. But you know what? I want to remove all of them and go back to add users again because something went wrong. So you would click on Remove all users and they will all be completely removed. Then you can click on Add users again and add the user or student you like. Okay, no, I don't want to remove all. I just want to remove one student. So you will notice on the left side, if you look to the left, you will see the X mark. If I click on it now, for example, on student 6, I will click on it. I can easily go back to add users and add anyone I choose. Absolutely no issue whatsoever. So now I've added students 7 and 8 only. And then I'll click Submit. You will notice that the system has created a group, which is assignment group number 1, and the number of members is 2. The number of members in it is 2. I made a type called manual registration. For random registration, I have many students and don't want to repeatedly create manual registrations and groups. Instead, I'll select the group type. Okay, choose the random registration type. It then asks for the group name. For example, homework group. Enter the number here, but not a specific one like 1, 2, or 3. The system will use this name and automatically create 10 groups, adding 1, 2, 3, etc. after it. So it becomes homework group 1, continuing with 1, 2, 3, etc. Unlike before, where you specified group 1 or wrote 1 for the first group. You will notice that it says, okay, give me the name of the group unit. Here, I will say homework group. Now you should write a number here, but don't put an exact number. Why? Because the system will take this name. And if you want to create 10 groups, the system will automatically create those 10 groups. It will be homework group 1, 2, 3, etc. Unlike the first type where you had to specify it. So we agreed on this part. You write the description you like and the group is visible to the students. You will find that allowing customization. If you want to create 10 groups, the system will automatically create those 10 groups and will take that name, adding 1, 2, 3, and 4 after it. So it will be homework group number 1, and then it will just continue with 1, 2, and so on. Unlike the first type, where you had to specify it, like saying group 1 or writing 1 for the first group. So we agreed on this part. You write the description you like, and the group is visible to the students. We don't need this union part right now. It will be relevant later for grade 12. You will find that allowing customization. We agreed on this part. You write the description you like, and the group is visible to the students. We don't need this union part right now. It will be relevant later for grade 12. You will find that allowing customization.